of humor and a lot of liberty. That just came to me, man.
I love it.
On the other side of the table is my buddy Shane.
Great intro, man. Loved it.
How's it going?
It's good, man. I'm excited about getting out into this beautiful fall weather. Went outside last night, set my stand, froze my ass off. It was chilly, man.
It's hard to get used to. I have to start the car and go back inside, wait for it to heat up.
We're not even talking freezing yet. It's gonna go. I'm not a fan of the cold.
Excuse me, there was ice on my windshield, so
It's frosty.
I actually don't mind the cold. It just takes a little time to adapt to it.
I am excited about today's show, though. We're gonna get through more than one topic. We're gonna do at least two.
We're gonna do 3 topics, but I want to tell you something right before. So I looked at an email from our buddy Quest.
Sure.
That I forgot to get to.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry when I forget to get to emails. This one was not in the spam
Especially
folder.
Quest.
Like
what are you
like
doing?
some. But he had asked, and since we've had a lot of videos going up, thank you, Shane, lately.
You're welcome.
I've seen some comments about, hey, videos, cool. And it popped in my mind. I was like, oh no, I'd never responded to Quest. And Quest said, hey, I've been having trouble. This is a month ago or something.
Oh no.
Or 3 weeks maybe.
Uh-oh. Quest, I just want you to know.
Finding your videos.
Disclaimer, Quest.
It's my fault.
I don't have access to the email, and I'm sorry you're having trouble finding email. You're not the first one to tell me this, though. You're actually, I think, the second to tell me.
To hard finding videos?
Yeah.
So I think it's just because we didn't have a lot of videos,
Yeah.
and the YouTube channel isn't very known yet.
The YouTube. The old YouTube, Sonny. What's on the old YouTube tonight?
The YouTube channel, that's correct iteration of the American language.
Yeah.
I don't say the Facebook.
The interwebs, yes. Sonny.
Well, Sonny, you're going to have to wait a little bit and be patient.
I'll tell you what, I pumped out 5 in one day the other day, and I'll tell you right now, if anybody's out there that knows of a Mac Pro that they're not using, maybe want to get rid of on the cheap, or anything like that, or have some connections with Apple or anything, I'm actually looking for a very powerful CPU type unit to do all of my rendering and processing on that. So if you know of anybody, it maybe wants to make a donation that they're not using it, man, I'll tell you what, we could definitely use it here on the Rebellion, because I'll tell you, what I've got to do in terms of production. It is one of those things that takes, I think, roughly even an hour just to render.
Yeah, you're talking about the encoding and rendering.
Yeah,
right?
the rendering takes about an hour for an hour and a half show, and that's pretty good. But I mean, you talk about 5 shows, you're talking about 5 hours, and then you're talking about a weird time scale in terms of upload. Like once everything's functioning, well, even like right now, everything is really, I think, pretty well optimized. Mm-hmm. If I can complete 5 of those a day, you're still talking about too much time in terms of this computer trying to do that type of work. Like that rendering should probably be done in less than 20 minutes. Yeah,
there's some ways to make it better, but with more videos, it should be easier to find the channel.
Sure.
I'll try to put a link somewhere on our current website. Yep. We've got a new website getting ready, but you can search for The Rebellion Podcast. You just have to go down a little bit, and skip over all the
subscribe.
All the fake Rebellion stuff.
Yeah, go down, subscribe to the channel and all that fun stuff. It'll really help us there. Also, if you want to help us and you want to get this message out even further as you're watching them, note the clips and let me know what clips you really like. I know we're a soundbite culture these days, and everybody's distracted. Like Banks is using his phone right now. No, I'm just kidding.
It's for podcast purposes.
I'm kidding, but find those clips. Those give us the show, what number the show is. Give us the marker in the YouTube clip. Not so much the just the audio clip, because audio clips and YouTube clips are a little different because of the intro that's cut out. But if you
download it and clip it yourself, and send it to us, that would
that'd be
take off so much work.
Even better. But things like that, little things like that, where we can get some help with editing and finding that content that you guys are procuring out there for yourselves. That'll help everybody. So
we've had some really cool memes already about us, which were enjoyable.
I really like that, Ron.
But the reason I was picking up my phone
for the review, I've got it right here,
is because I wanted to thank our latest patron.
Oh, okay, go for it.
His name is Wade Hoffman, and he just became a patron yesterday at 5:01 p.m.
Thanks, Wade.
That's really cool.
Really appreciate it, man. I mean, seriously, things sometimes tend to ratchet up and go through seasons and all that kind of stuff. I feel like we're hitting that season where people are getting involved. We're about to start rolling into another year, Banksy, I should say another season of politics.
I think it might be because it was Halloween and they were just thinking about scary stuff, and we talk about scary stuff, and they're like, man, I need more of that.
All the time. We also have another review, number 99. 99 problems, but a review ain't one. What?
A review is one. We need one more review.
One more review.
Triple digits.
But Liberty first, man. That's actually the name of this review. And It's from Kilroy237. Hey, thanks for doing this, Kilroy. It says, Banks and Shane take on the evils of centralized power, both in the Georgia Assembly and on the national level, speaking the truth and spreading the message of peace, prosperity, and free markets to combat the maniacal, quote, leaders of our nation. This is one of the top podcasts leading the charge and putting liberty first. Thanks, guys, for being the voice of our rebellion.
Thank you, Kilroy.
Great review.
Very high praise.
Oh, well written, man. I'll tell you what. I'll take another one just like that.
I know. I have a little criticism. He might be overstating, like, how awesome we are. Whoa,
I don't know, man.
That's a little too much pressure.
5 out of 5.
But
99
to
ratings.
potentially meet his high standard, today we're going to talk about Twitter doing the opposite of what Facebook did in terms of political ads.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Syria, where Trump is doing the opposite of what he said 2 seconds ago. And we're going to kind of go back to our transgender episode and talk about a bill that has been introduced here in Georgia, just by kind of coincidence, to ban certain practices.
And maybe stick around for a surprise announcement at the end of the show.
Apparently it's a surprise for me, too.
You love surprises. You love
No,
surprises. So we're going to start with Twitter. You brought this to my attention that Twitter is out there now saying that they are not going to accept money or run any, right? Am I getting this correct? They're not going to run any political ads whatsoever?
So, that's what the name of the game out there is. It is not 100% correct because, of course, within 1 second you can poke holes into logic and statements. But that's basically the thing. They're not going to do any candidate ads. And this is not just like a new idea. They've thought about this. They've got an official definition already that they're a lawyer with the weird name. Not a bad thing. What's
her face? The one that went on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I thought I had this pulled up.
She was really shifty and shady and lawyery and yuck.
Pretty smart, but yes, shady and shifty.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, both of those definitely.
Yeah.
But apparently there are no candidate ads. And I mean, Jack went through to its credit, he was quite open with what his whole thought process was on this issue. And so he said, we weren't going to do candidate ads, but then we were going to do issue ads. But then we realized that issue ads could push the same agenda. So no issue ads. And then somebody down here was like, well, wait, what is the what's the definition of all this? And Lawyer Chick responded, and Twitter refreshed my page.
Lucky you. I actually have Jack's tweet here, and I think it's actually pretty interesting.
Like the whole thing?
I have 2.
So my plan was to read the whole thing, but read your 2.
Okay, so
and I'll read everything else.
This is Jack on October 30th. It says, we'll share the final policy by 11/15, including a few exceptions. Ads in support of voter registration will still be allowed, for instance. We'll start enforcing our new policy on 11/22 to provide current advertisers a notice period before this change goes into effect. He follows on in another tweet. A final note, this isn't about free expression. This is about paying for reach. And paying to increase the reach of political speech has significant ramifications that today's democratic infrastructure may not be prepared to handle. It's worth stepping back in order to address.
So we're starting from the bottom of his thing, which isn't a problem, but I thought it was very interesting where he says a few exceptions, and he gives some examples of those exceptions being voter registration. But even allowing one exception gives you all the leeway for your bias, because this is their problem, right? It's like, oh, there's influence. Again, I think influence is good. I think
everybody influences everything.
I think speech is good, and but for their bias to like trickle into that exception, because if we're talking like away from principles, there is a practical fact, like statistical factor, that the more people go out to vote, the more Democrat people vote. So if you're working within their like frame of work, which is Democrat, Republican, good, bad, whichever side you're on, this is actually leaning towards one side completely.
What do you think is leaning towards the Democrats?
Oh, yeah. So there's any Republican, I'm surprised I haven't seen one Republican talk about this yet. They might have not seen there'll be a few exceptions things.
Yeah.
But any Republican operative, which I guess I've been in the past and am to some degree.
Yeah.
Matt Gurtler has an opponent, by the way.
Republican?
Yeah.
Of course he does.
Actually, I'll talk about that at the very end and tell you guys to go donate to Matt. For those who already have, which is quite a few of you, Matt was all like impressed because I was like, yeah, oh, I recognize that person from the podcast. You can go donate to him now.
Cool.
But if you increase voter turnout, like it increases Democrat votes. That's just like a known factor, because the people who forget to vote or don't vote as consistently tend to be younger, and those younger people tend to vote more Democrat.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
And I don't necessarily like statistics, but that is a practical reality.
I wonder if that's changing with demographics now, as the boomers are aging out a little bit and the millennials are coming in. I saw this really crazy statistic the other day about how millennials are actually the largest landowners in America now, and in terms of base and income and all that kind of stuff, they're going to quickly overtake the boomers in the very near future, if not present.
So you've got to that is true, but if you take off the labels and just talk about what age people are, that's what we're talking about. So millennials are getting older, so there'll be more landowners. Sure. But in general, the statistic is that younger people who are going to college and jobs and busier and have less free time, or prefer to spend their free time doing something else, they vote more inconsistently. So the same 22-year-old who was an inconsistent voter 2 decades ago, this new 22-year-old who wasn't even born 2 decades ago, or was 2 years old, I guess, is also inconsistent just from what that age range does to your life.
Right.
And older people who kids are out of the house and who sit around and watch Fox News or CNN, whatever like side they're on, tend to have more free time to think about things like, oh, well, maybe I'll go volunteer at the soup kitchen, and I guess it's voting day today. I might as well go.
What are you have any predictions on that changing in the future? I mean, or see how do you think you have a prediction on how it will change?
Just based on age and not the actual categories?
Yep. In terms of voter turnout and things like that?
I think that despite the fact that there's less people who vote, right? There's more apathy in general.
Or they're more just apathy and disgust.
Both.
I'm done with both of these guys.
I still think that the older you get, the more you'll be consistent at voting.
Really?
Because you tend to have, I don't want to generalize, you tend to have more time for two reasons: because you're not as busy and because you have more resources. And both of those, even when you're disgusted and apathetic, both of those just mean you're paying more attention and mean you're involved, even if we're very involved because we choose it. We're disgusted as hell. I mean, right? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, that's actually being extremely, I guess, pragmatic and kind in terms of what I feel about the current system. Sure.
Yeah, and yet, even as disgusted, I don't know how to go on enough.
Yeah,
we vote pretty damn consistently. I go to vote sometimes and vote for nobody on the thing, just to go in there and be aware of what's happening, know how the voting machines still work. I'm not the best character
representation.
Because I'm an outlier.
But you're definitely a millennial, and
I don't even know if I like being called a millennial, but whatever.
But I'm just talking about age, like age range. You fit into that. I actually kind of have a little bit of a prediction in terms of the way I see things kind of hammering out. I've never looked at Gen X as one of those subsets of Americans, right, in terms of their age that was super involved politically, little distracted, little emo, little, Kurt Cobain, not, maybe maybe more disgusted with the system from the very beginning. I mean, I kind of grew up in a lot of the Gen X or like MTV type era where there were still videos and things like that. And I remember kind of like Rock the Vote, Kennedy and Matt Lauer, and I think that was who it was, is Kennedy and Matt Lauer. And at any rate, I don't know. I don't see the Gen Xers being those older people that are like the boomers are in terms of voting. I actually maybe a little more apathy. And this is just my my thought and maybe prediction. What I do see, and the fact that they're also not as resourceful when it comes to tech and adapting to new tech as it
You're talking
comes.
about people your age.
A little, yeah, I am. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I have a lot of friends that don't know how to use tech, and I mean that graduated with me. I mean, when you look at everything that tech can do for you in terms of doing this kind of thing and making a brand for yourself and doing that.
So you think there might be a lull between the older people right now who are voting consistently,
I do.
and then a lull in this middle ground, and then maybe the younger people? Because I do think that the younger generation now, maybe from like 14 to 24, maybe even a little young, like 14 to 20, might be more involved. And when I say voting, like that's a little bit, that's less important than. That's less what I'm looking at than the involvement.
Sure. Yeah. And,
Okay.
and I appreciate your kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
Framing.
Framing.
I don't mean to frame it
definition.
for you. I'm trying to, because it's I hadn't thought of that.
I think
at all.
I think there's something to be said also in terms of that tech having this exponential effect for that generation. And I'm not saying they're all the same, but I do think, and I know I keep coming back to this. I do think this next generation, as much as people want you to believe that millennials and Gen Z are going to be a waste, I actually see this amazing resurgence in terms of liberty, like no kidding, like really understanding liberty and principle and things like that, and this utter distrust for what they've been told in opposition to their studies. I mean, let's face it, like we've said, 90+% of people go to government indoctrination classes. Mm-hmm. But the thing is those kids also have everything in the palm of their hand and go, what I'm learning here is nonsense. Like this is just crap. And so they are, I think, more likely to distrust what the state is just because of even that interaction. And so when you start to compound these, the sum of the parts is greater than the parts itself, and they are able to take, manipulate, digest more productively and with more precision, do things that other generations will not have done, and maybe optimistically that makes for a better way of socially interacting in terms of quote unquote a government in the future. I don't know. I just think
that's interesting. You've made me think of two things that I've never thought about ever at this point. The thing about your generation and kind of a little bit older, just not having those tools and going through what your parents and my parents would have gone through, just kind of with already their knowledge, and just making that means they're just going to be more apathetic, because it's just like the same old, and this new generation being more active. And I would think that they might be more active, and even if they maybe don't go on the side of liberty, that just them being more active will be better in the long term. In the short term, it might be worse. We might become a communist utopia.
Yeah, if they
swing
communist, but
but that would be a good evolution, right? Because there will be natural consequences to communism, which would hopefully wake people up.
And the faster it happens, the more of a adverse reaction people will have to it too. That's why I don't care if Democrats win seats. I don't care if Democrats have majority. I don't care if, like, Barack Obama and the Democrats of the 2008, 2010 Congress, those guys really shocked this country. I mean, you look at everything that they did, and this country's still reeling from that. I mean, you may not see it as much as I do, but with a family and healthcare and all that kind of stuff, like, it sucks.
I mean, I don't see it in your way, but I don't have healthcare, so I see it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, what these guys did to the middle class taxpayer who had pretty good insurance. now, the cost, I don't have the stat in front of me, but I can tell you it has gone up significantly.
I think the only thing that's gone up more is college tuition.
Yeah. Well, and then there you go, government insured again. And so, for me, when I see all of this transpire, I think there's something else that's going to happen. And then warning to you guys, if you're Generation X or you're a boomer or something out there, you need to be trying to further your education and in terms of technology, more so than probably anybody else. And here's why. Is because as technology matures and as we mature with the technology as a society, these guys who are younger are going to have a natural foot up. And that natural foot up where they know how to navigate, use, and now also acquire new skill sets for free from technology itself. That is going to have an effect on that generation where they are going to run circles around your production, your ability to, contribute to society. It's, exponentially.
In some ways, not in all ways.
No, I'm not saying
think
always.
Experience kind of matters.
Yeah.
Which is all that us old people can hold on to.
Trust me.
Experience and wisdom.
I think there's a lot, and trust me, I think there's a two-way street there, obviously. But when I see it and I see what happens with technology and I see what happens with wisdom, where it gets boiled down to these really cool nuggets that simplify and show exactly what truth is. Man, that type of thing for these people to be interacting with as much as they're interacting. God, who knows how much screen time some of these people have.
That's interesting way you went there, because it actually goes into more of Jack's tweet. We're going to be doing this tweet in really weird order because I'm going right into the middle now.
Okay.
But so this is two tweets that kind of talk about that, and the ending is really.
I've not read. I haven't seen these.
He puts it as a negative, and you put it as a positive, which I agree with.
Huh.
He says, while internet advertising is incredibly powerful and very effective for commercial advertisers, that power brings significant risks to politics, where it can be used to influence votes to affect the lives of millions. Internet political ads present entirely new challenges to civic discourse. Machine learning-based optimization of messaging and micro-targeting, unchecked misleading information, and deep fakes, all at increasing velocity, sophistication, and overwhelming scale. So we're just talking about how that's a good thing, right? Society's going to learn faster and better.
It's going to expose
and in our
more.
opinion, the truth is going to come out from that.
Sure.
Even if there could be potentially temporary setbacks, communism, lies, and so forth.
Yeah.
If you then go through that, you learn, and society learns, and it's going to happen faster and faster. We're going to optimize ourselves faster and faster.
Yeah.
Jack apparently is scared of all this. He's like, whoa, we need to stop here. Things could happen. Don't we want things to happen?
Yeah.
Good things and bad things require one thing for them to happen, to allow them to happen. So if you stop all opportunity from happening, right? Mm-hmm. If you say nothing's going to happen, we stay here, nothing bad's going to happen potentially, or maybe, but nothing good's going to happen either.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't read all the responses to these tweets, but that to me seems obvious. It's I don't want the opportunity taken away. And if bad things happen, to me it just seems like more learning.
Well,
which gives a potential for better things than was even possible in the beginning to happen.
I hate when Titans are
so small-minded.
Yes. And they don't trust that good ideas will lead people to good things, right?
Well, they don't trust other people, it seems like.
Well, no, not only do they not trust other people, but they don't trust what they're not behind, right? If you were just really dead set in your principles, right?
I am.
You would you would welcome all challenges. Right. And that's what helped me to get out in front of my community. That's what helped me go out and take the message of liberty to the 7th District.
Is the confidence you had in them?
The confidence in my principles and my knowledge of history. Right. Go ahead. Let's have a debate, man. Talk all you want. I will be glad to sit here and listen to every word you say. And when you were completely out of line with your oath in the Constitution, and when you're completely out of line with principle, I don't have anything that's going to hold me back from tearing your argument to shreds. And that's a good thing. This creative destruction that we have, that's what truth is. I mean, that's what good ideas are. That's what leads people to do extraordinary things. It's not, the state doesn't do that. Titans who control messaging and propaganda don't do that.
People who control other things don't do that in general.
No, what you're doing is you're limiting. I mean, just on its face alone is you are limiting potential.
We talked about that. You were talking about John Taylor Gatto the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's how you would stop genius. You say, okay, everybody, give me information, give me your stories and so forth.
Work in my paradigm.
I'll take all 100 or 100,000 of them, and I'll pick the best. What does it? That limits all the other stuff there,
right?
Because you've got one opinion deciding what is, like, taking all the genius of 100,000 people and limiting it to one. It's funny because you said it was like your principles and I kind of said the confidence in them that gave you that power. I think it's something even more, and I'll get sappy here.
Oh yes,
even more wonderful. It's my favorite quote that illustrates this. It's the only thing I've ever considered seriously getting tattooed onto my body. I have not yet. But it is John Locke, and he says, "To love truth for truth's sake is the principal part of human perfection in this world and the seed plot of all other virtues." Mm-hmm. So just truth by itself, just wanting the truth, okay? Wanting what is right, what is real, because things that are not true are not real, right? They're fabrications.
Yeah.
That is a seed plot. So it's not that you had necessarily the right principles or the utmost confidence in those principles, is that you wanted the truth so much that you were willing and even like desiring of somebody to try to knock them down.
Yes, that's what, and that's what a reasoned and what I believe to be an intellectual would want. You want, I don't know.
You just want the truth.
You want the
If somebody teaches you something completely different and that is the truth, you will be happy and fulfilled.
You're not kidding. Do you remember? I mean, you don't. You've been woke at AF as long as
I've woken up on different things.
You have.
IP is BS, people.
Yeah, exactly. But those real big first revelations you had where you got over the anger, you got over the disbelief, you got over like the reconciliation point, and then your brain clicked on and said, I want more. It's like Neo in the Matrix, right?
It's like having a weight on you when you believe false things that you didn't know was there.
Like, I know Kung Fu, right? Like you just uploaded a ton of brand new information, and like information is power. That's what I'm getting at, is when you stop the potential for information, what you're doing is stopping potential of everybody. You're stopping the potential of one person who could do something really, really amazing, good, bad, or indifferent, with whatever political ads out there.
And even if you're a selfish bastard, you're stopping information for yourself.
Yeah,
don't limit yourself.
Think about
Jack Dorsey.
Think about all the fun stuff too, right? Like think about all the fun stuff that happens because of political ads. The genius behind taking them, carving them out, what goes into I don't know. Some of my favorite stuff, especially during campaign seasons, is Saturday Night Live skits, right? They're not all fun. Some of them are really, they just suck. But I'll tell you, back in the day when guys like Will Ferrell would do George W. Bush, oh my God, it was side-splittingly funny because there was so much truth and thought. To stop the comedians from having their time with this kind of stuff and exposing the ridiculousness and the ridiculous reverence that people have for the state and politicians in general, because that's what it's about. It's a popularity contest. My guy, my team. We're cooler than your team, and look, the millions and millions of people in America picked us and not you, and ha ha ha. It's come on, this. I love the comedy side of it, and that's just one little piece of what you're going to miss in terms of not getting things out like they're now. For me, I sit here and go, you're still going to fail, Jack. You know why? Because somebody with their little phone is going to sit there and record a message, and they're going to upload it. They're not going to. They can't check everything.
Well, no. So Jack would have a state. He'd say this is not about political like posts. It's like political ads. So
Sure.
So you have to get an ad approved.
Sure, they do. Like those people have to, right? So are ads ever going to stop? No, they're not going to stop. They're gonna just be on different channels and formats.
On Twitter they're going to stop.
They'll be on Facebook, and somebody will take their camera and they will record that political ad and they will upload it to Twitter.
Yeah, but on Twitter it won't get paid reach, which is all that Dorsey
unless
is talking about.
Somebody else is paying for reach in some other category, right? Like, is this foolproof? I mean,
it's not foolproof. I don't think Jack Dorsey, he's not a stupid person, would say, yeah, we'll get 100% of the political ads. Sure. He'll be like, there'll be some that get that fall through the cracks for either a period of time or an extended period of time, and that's just that's the way censorship works. You can't censor everything.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. There's going to be some exceptions. Well, what are those going to be, Jack? Why don't you go ahead and tell us off the top of your head? If you already know there's going to be exceptions, what are those going to be, Jack?
Well, he said that some of them were going to be for voter registration and so forth. And here's the thing: the way to react to this is they're talking in this grandiose way. Mm-hmm. Some people might prefer that Twitter have less politics. I actually wouldn't mind some platforms being all about organic reach. Like if Twitter had said, we're going to find another way to make money and there's just going to be only organic reach, mm-hmm. and they didn't manipulate organic reach on different platforms, I would find that cool, because in some sense you could see like a certain amount of truth, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe if they made their algorithm like open source or something, mm-hmm. to where you could understand what it is, and you could be like, okay, within these parameters that we know because open source, we can see what. And that's kind of how Facebook and YouTube and Twitter used to work. Yeah. When it was
that's when it was simpler. That's what they sold it to us as, right?
I mean, that's what made them that's what made maybe not popular, but that's how they got so much market share.
Yeah.
It was kind of a little bit more honest and open. Even though it wasn't open, we kind of understood it and we could see it plainly.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And it's the same way we know it's manipulated to some extent. Is like we maybe can't point our finger to exactly what in the algorithm, what number or what conditional or whatever in the code changes things, but we're like, we know something's going on here.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Shane keeps losing.
Yeah,
like people on Twitter
with more and more popularity, he's still losing people on social media. Yeah, it's weird.
Seems weird because that's not how it used to work.
Yeah, that's not how any of this works. Do you know who agrees with old Jack Dorsey?
A lot of the left.
Let me play this.
Ocasio-Cortez.
And you tell me.
Bernie Sanders. Beto.
We face a serious problem of a lot of these falsehoods and these crazy stories taking on lives of their own. Not about me, but about everybody, right. And particularly anybody in the public arena. And I have been very outspoken about the decision by Facebook to allow truly false political ads to be run. I want to applaud Twitter for announcing they were not going to let that go forward. And I really hope Facebook changes their mind, because more than half the people in America get their news from Facebook. And
right.
you. I mean, that's the combination.
Well, but but Facebook. Yeah.
She's on Trevor Noah. That's obviously. Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton.
I mean, I'm not that surprised. I like the first thing that came to mind is Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
She looks like Mao Zedong with a blonde wig on here. I mean, the way she dresses. Have you ever seen like some of the comparisons between her and like Mao and some of the?
Well, the royals
the
royals like to embellish their appearance, so we think that they're more important than they are.
It's so ridiculous.
So she is like, she acts like an emperor
that doesn't have a empire. Just missing that empire.
She's like, I'm just trying to get the empire, okay? I've got all the other qualifications. I'm an authoritarian,
queen
dictator,
of the warmongers,
queen of the warmongers,
personification of rot. Oh, those were so good. Those were so good, Tulsi. If for anything else, that's one reason why.
I think it was personification of corruption, but I think rot is cool.
Wait, there's something else. The personification of corruption, and then there's something of rot that is it's also included.
Example of the rot in the Democrat Party or something like that.
We'll have to look it up later. But yeah, I mean, if you got Hillary Clinton, who obviously is all about controlling what is released and what is not released and what is publicly available and not publicly available,
hold on. See, that could be based on principle. She could be like, based on this is why I want this and that. No, yeah. It's those things based on what is best for her. Mm-hmm. So if the internet was all out there with memes about how awesome Hillary was and how she should be the president, and there wasn't this influx of the truth,
dude,
through humor and so forth, she would love all the free speech.
Seriously, I'll tell you right now,
nobody was calling for censorship of political ads when Obama was like the thing that was so popular out there.
I think there's a real case to be made for people who blindly follow people like Hillary Clinton. Like for just, hey, mentally, are you all there? Like that should be, you want to talk about red flags, and then trust me, don't guilt. I'm not a red flag person, never would be. However, mentally, red flags go up in my head when somebody's like, I love Hillary Clinton. I love her. Hillary. Like, who loves
I could see some empathy for some of those people. So there's some people who are young and indoctrinated and they don't know better. And we know people who have been young and indoctrinated.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about...
But there's some people who are, I'm sure, sad, depressed, and were bought in and at a time like by accident, and this is all they have like left is their identity in, I don't know, being a Democrat, being a feminist, Hillary supporter, whatever it is, and they were just bought into it and they can't get out because that's part of their identity now, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah, and mentally, I mean, and here's what else is sad. There are a lot of mental health problems out there that go completely unaddressed. That's a very sad thing. Like people that are enthralled with Hillary Clinton, that's sad. Like, and here's the other thing is people who are extremely supportive of Donald Trump in all of his ways, defending things like red flag gun laws, defending the appointment of A.G. Barr, who, boy, I'll tell you what, some of the evil stuff that guy's been talking about in terms of pre-crime lately.
Yeah, we need to talk about that at some point.
Different issue altogether, but geez, Pete, man, like that guy, bump stocks, suppressor, like the fact that you just have people fawning over themselves, doing God knows like contortion acts with their mind to try to say that these are not violations of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, and you're sitting there.
See, I can have empathy there too. I know certain people who would acknowledge most of the bad things, because we can all disagree on some things,
sure,
but who are bought in because oftentimes it's somebody who's older who remembers this time when that was better in many ways, at least not in all ways, and that is kind of looking at how things are going to change, is looking at like the end of their life, and this is like the only hope. So that's sad. Like they think that this is the only hope, and so like I can really have empathy for all of it. It makes both of us quite arrogant to be like, well, these people must be having problems, either mental problems or like happiness level problems, to defend something so ardently.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of justifying my arrogance here.
Call me arrogant. I'm going to go ahead and yes, I'm arrogant in this respect for sure. Like we
should do the picture for this thing and be like have above arrogant a-holes, the rebellion with two arrogant a-holes, and us looking all proud about it.
I love it.
Oh no! Even better, us pointing at each other and with two bubbles calling each other an arrogant
asshole. Yeah, right here. Yeah, I can take that timestamp. That timestamp right there and do that, man. That's no problem at all. But yeah, cool. No, Banks and I are always like, oh God. I know we go on tangents all the time. Thank you guys for loving us and bearing with us and being a part of this. Banks has been working feverishly on the website, and I think hopefully we've been talking about releasing it here in the next, I don't know, week or so.
You're telling people this is a timeline, dude. This is not fun. This is my stress level.
I said maybe, and we're not going to do it till it's right. But I'll tell you right now, it looks really, really good, and I'm super excited about doing that, and then bringing in some sponsors and
thanks, man,
and turning this thing up to 10. Like it's like. I'm feeling it, man. I am feeling this good stuff coming out of the rebellion, and to put more content out there with video and all this. Oh man, I'm super excited.
So we can do more good stuff, which is get to like 2 or 3 subjects in this episode.
Yeah.
I do want to not rush, but it is.
How far are we into this one?
Time wise?
No. I mean, in terms of content.
Oh, so I've got a little bit more to read, and I've got one video of Zuck.
Okay.
Who? Man. I'm standing up for Zuck.
Oh boy!
Like I don't like him globally, but
maybe his AI.
I don't like companies like for like a matter of fact. I think companies do good things and companies do bad things. And Zuck for me represents a company. He does good things and bad things, but lately he's done a bunch of good things.
What if Jack and Zuck are both AI, and
they're machine learning off of each other?
Well, they're machine learning and they're AI learning, and Zuck's program right now is outperforming Jack's.
I definitely think it is.
Yeah, me too.
Like we could do a meme. It's you and me on either side, and Zuck in the middle, and we're giving him a kiss. Or it's Zuck as a little child, and we're 2 adults, and we're patting him on the head. Good boy.
Good boy. Keep learning.
If somebody wants to make memes, I don't have the time to make all of those.
You're robot.
But here's a little bit more, a few more of the tweets. It's a whole thread. He says, we've made a decision to stop all political advertising on Twitter globally. A political message earns reach when people decide to follow an account or retweet, kind of. Paying for reach removes that decision, forcing highly optimized and targeted political messages on people. We believe this decision should not be compromised by money. These challenges will affect all internet communications, not just political ads. Best to focus our efforts on the root problems without the additional burden and complexity taking money brings. Trying to fix both means fixing neither well and harms our credibility. For instance, it is not credible for us to say we're working hard to stop people from gaming our systems to spread misleading info, but if someone pays us to target and force people to see their political ad, well, they can say whatever they want. And in that sense, it is a problem for Facebook, for all the praise I just gave Zuck, that they're letting these political ads go, but it's not like they're stopping their whole agenda of, wait, there's misinformation out there, we're going to shadow ban people there who put out fake news and so forth. Like, they're still doing that, or at least they haven't said they're going to stop doing that. And what they've done in the past year of banning pages and where people think they're targeting conservative pages, and I think it's just an illusion to target liberty pages. I think that's the biggest threat that they see. I think that Jack actually makes a good point. At least take one policy and apply it equally. But maybe Zuck is going to slowly evolve to that, and that's the video I've got.
Yeah, and Zuck, right? Like, I think it was the other day, I'd received another message from Facebook about political ads and all that kind of stuff. I have a political page, a politician's page, right? And, one of the things was, hey, if you don't have a blue check mark and you qualify as, one of these things, including a politician, then go ahead and, you can go here and try to sign up. Banks, I think before I let go of the click button,
it said no.
I had an email in my box that said, it didn't say ha, but they had already rendered their justification and said, nope, you're not eligible for this, and try again in 30 days or something. Crazy. You
know how many times? I mean, we've both tried multiple times during the campaign. Like when you're literally on FEC paperwork, like with signatures and paying thousands of dollars to get on there.
I kind of have this, and I kind of wonder if there is a bit of a conspiracy. I mean, you're kind of aware of like the whole DARPA program where it was like I think in 2004 they cut it off. It was like a life log or something like that from DARPA, and they closed it down, and then like basically the next day Facebook popped up. Anyway,
I mean, I actually don't believe in that conspiracy, but I know about it.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, you know about it. There's a lot of me in terms of what these guys could do conspiratorially to really go after dividing America, because that's what they have to have that, right?
Well, we have like real life examples of, and you could call it a conspiracy because if it hadn't come to light, we wouldn't have known about it. It would have been secret. But there's the Cambridge Analytica thing, where you've got companies mining information and then giving it to politicians. It is a conspiracy. Like tons of things are conspiracy. As soon as we turn off these mics, we're having conspiracies.
Well, we conspire publicly
about how we're going to manipulate our listeners into.
But we conspire all the time about how to bring this government back into as small, decentralized. I mean, that's a conspiracy.
So that's a conspiracy in of itself. It's just made public.
So my thought is I often question like. I know we see it as people who are pro-liberty, like, people that are out fighting and really trying to make a difference, where we see it that way. My question is are there other people who, have not been, quote unquote, kind of chosen, right? Because let's face it, like, sometimes you just gotta be in the inner circles sometimes to say, yeah, the guy, he needs his blue check mark, get him his blue check mark, or her, or whatever it is. Like, I also wonder if are they doing this on the other side? Are they doing this with people based on more than what are the criteria? Like, are they doing this everywhere? Are they doing this for people who are extremely progressive as well? Because if they are, it's also wrong. Right? It's wrong.
It's also so I don't think it's necessarily wrong because it's a private company, but I think it's like bad policy.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like bad policy. It's something that would make me like support the product less.
Yeah.
Like if they did things right, I would promote Facebook. I use Facebook, but I don't think it's that great.
Yeah.
So it's just a market decision. It's why I used to think Apple was freaking awesome, and then I grew up a little bit and they changed a little bit, and I'm like, oh, Apple kind of sucks now.
Yeah.
So.
No, I see it as a tool for dividing if they're using it, to their fullest potential, which their fullest potential means dividing us to the maximum, right? And that, I mean, what does it do? Whenever you disenfranchise people, they become more violent, they become more separated, they tend to, foster feelings of hate.
They can
tend to, yeah. And so if this is happening on all sides, just the power of these companies. Trust me, and I'm talking about the market replacing them eventually, which is what I'll always advocate. But I'll tell you, I think there's a lot more going on here than we're ever going to find out. I do hope to find out someday.
Oh, I'd love to find out. I think that we get these glimpses. And often what people see as negative, both of us kind of see as positive. And you can kind of see you've got these people on the, like we just heard about Hillary. Mm-hmm. It didn't work as much as I thought it would work, but Hillary was proven to have manipulated the Democratic process on the Democrat Party side, right? And they had been doing that for a long time with their super delegates that are very controlled. And there's all those emails that I think is good that was put out there by WikiLeaks kind of showing this, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. I don't think it had enough effect in making people go away from Hillary and seeing the system, but for a lot of people, there were people who were like Bernie or bust.
Yeah.
And people who ideologically disagree with the principles of liberty fundamentally, but we're going in the right direction. They're like, hey, I'm a socialist, communist, whatever, but this system's rigged. I hate this system. I don't think they distrusted enough. I think it was kind of temporary and a smaller portion of people, but it did something good.
Do you think the Bernie camp, and sorry to spin off into this, do you think the Bernie camp feels like the Ron Paul camp in a lot of ways? Where
not in a lot of ways, but in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're arresting people and throwing them out of the conference, and basically the private corporate club is going to have who it wants to have versus who the people wanted it to be.
Yeah, it actually it makes me more empathetic towards them. It also illustrates how the Democrat Party and Republican Party are similar, since they do the same things, right?
They are, man.
It might not be the same language, but they manipulate their private corporate club rules in the same way. They are in Georgia law and many other state laws in the same way. Like it says the Republican Party gets this and the Democrat Party gets this, and all other parties can go like jump in a lake. Like tons of similarities aside from the color. That's it.
No, yeah. I mean, elephants and donkeys both stink and are kind of brutish type of animals anyway. So
yeah. So I just want to end on a video of Zuck. This is a little old, but it kind of plays into what is happening today with Dorsey, and it is courtesy of our friend AOC. It would be good if I plugged in the computer.
Oh yeah, let's do that first. God, JV stuff, buddy.
You announced recently that the official policy of Facebook now allows politicians to pay to spread disinformation in 2020 elections and in the future. So I just want to know how far I can push this in the next year. Under your policy, using census data as well, could I pay to target predominantly Black zip codes and advertise them the incorrect election date?
No, Congresswoman, you couldn't. We have, even for these policies around the newsworthiness of content that politicians say, and the general principle that I believe that...
But you said you're not going to fact check my ads.
We have, if anyone, including a politician, is saying things that that is calling for violence or could risk imminent physical harm or voter or census suppression when we roll out the census suppression policy, we will take that content down.
So you will.
I'll pause for a second.
That was interesting.
First the part, and then I'll get to what I know you think is interesting. Zuck's response to her interesting, like a fake like example, is quite interesting. He sounds very reasonable. He's like, the policy is people get to say what they want. And just like any person or business or entity would have their standard, he's trying to reasonably, defending Zuck here, okay, guys, reasonably explain his standard. He's like, when something is to harm somebody, that is a difference than them just saying something. And apparently in his opinion, giving the wrong voting date would not be like physical harm, but it would be like fraud that has a pretty big or whatever size, a substantial negative effect on the person, right? And he's like, that's my standard. And she just completely flies way over this reasonable, what I think is a reasonable, and what I would want, like whatever social media I'm using, I actually wouldn't want it if people were on there saying, yeah, let's kill this group of people or that group of people. Like I would want that to be censored. I don't mind.
Yeah, you can't put people in imminent danger. I mean, that's not right. It's stress, duress, coercion. It's a whole bunch of things that we obviously don't believe in.
Yeah, I mean, I think people should be able to say that. Like, if they own a piece of property, they should be able to put a sign. And I think I'd want to know that. But if I'm trying to find a place where I curate my news and talk to my friends, I think that's a very reasonable standard.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
You picked up on him trying to explain this. He said, okay, well, we have a policy, and they had a policy. Anybody who was advertising a fake date for the election last 2 years ago, I guess now 3 years. 2 years,
well,
whatever
it's a running joke, right? It's like it's not even. It's not even.
I think they didn't get the humor, but they said,
of course they didn't.
You can't do that. And
AI has a tough time with humor,
and I don't mind because that's a pretty kind of a pretty cut and dry one. But he said that there's going to be some kind of same policy about the census. So I have a feeling that we're not, like, people are not going to be able to say, hey, don't answer your phone, don't answer your door, because you don't have to take the stupid census. Which actually, yeah, you don't have to take the stupid census. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is at your own risk. I don't actually know every possibility in the world, but like from my knowledge, if you don't take it, nothing really happens.
Well, I mean, here's the thing too, is like how many censuses this will be, I don't know, at least my second or third census, or I don't know, right? Has it changed anything, or has
it has. It's changed the shape, the allotment of congressmen in different states,
because that's helped us. Wait.
I'm being AI now, and I'm just telling you the facts here. Okay.
No, what I'm saying is I don't give the damn census
On a deeper level
is not going to change anything in politics at all. Like if past indication is a future predictor, then it's just going to keep getting worse.
It's not going to change and help liberty, is what you're saying.
Sure.
It changes things.
Yeah, it changes things.
It does.
It does everything.
Georgia has two more congressmen. No, one more congressman than they had in 2000.
Yeah, those guys are all awesome.
I'm not saying they're awesome. That is a change.
You're right. It changes things. Not like diapers that are full of poop, but
okay. So just to finish the AOC thing, because she gets even more just belligerent and like she's becoming what she apparently hated, which is politicians like just acting.
AOC, huh?
Yeah.
Haven't heard from her in a while.
Still cute.
We took a long break from her. Very much needed.
There is some threshold where you will fact check political advertisements. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, Congresswoman, yes, for specific things like that, where there's imminent risk of harm.
Could I run ads targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Would I be able to run advertisements on Facebook targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal? I mean, if you're not fact-checking political advertisements, I'm just trying to understand the bounds here. What's fair game?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I think
so. You don't know if I'll be able to do that.
I think probably.
Do you see a potential problem here with a complete lack of fact-checking on political advertisements?
Well, Congresswoman, I think lying is bad, and I think if you were to run an ad that had a lie, that would be bad. That's different from it being, in our position, the right thing to do to prevent your constituents or people in an election from seeing that you had lied.
And that, my friends, is a very, honest, true, and important statement.
I totally agree with Zuck
The
here.
difference between saying lying is good or bad is completely different with what your position is on whether lies should be seen.
Yes.
And I think lies should be seen. And I don't know if Zuck is put in this position from the consequences of business and adapting to the free market.
Yeah, a little bit.
Apparently the money from political ads is 0.5% of the total Facebook amount. So that still adds up to billions.
Hey, when you got shareholders?
But I actually do not think that is the underlying principle. I think the underlying principle might be something that Gary Vee would kind of focus on more, which is long-term decisions. You should make them on the long term.
Sure.
And long term, that is a very true, correct statement that I would repeat almost verbatim.
Yeah, definitely in line with our principles. Hey, listen, we want everything to be what it is. That way, it's got the exposure of sunlight to be tested against. And, hey, guess what? People who are liars will be found out as liars. People who are telling the truth will be truth tellers. And that's the thing is what's the old great saying is in the empire of lies, truth is treason, right? I mean, that's the problem here. And AOC and her infinite wisdom, along with a bunch of these other, really, really reverent people up there on Capitol Hill who are interviewing him, who wish he would take down. The problem is these guys, first and foremost, want everything controlled, right? They want control, and secondly, is it's an involuntary admission that they think you're so dumb that you can't figure this crap out for yourself.
I think there is that. There's a lot of arrogance, as we talked about with Dorsey, who's like, I'm a genius, but these other people can't be as genius as me.
Yeah,
which ends up hampering his own genius. But I also think it's in their own protection. If they're just like, hey, this is the current situation, and I'm in this position of power, and I lie quite frequently, then this would be a shift, and over time, me, which is what they're concerned with most, and everybody else, because they do the same thing as that person, would change.
Yep.
Or at least there'd be more potential for it to change. So protection, let's just keep it at a very low standard of we won't know everything. I want to know when people lie.
And here's the other thing is,
that's just it.
Think about the Herculean task of doing this, man. You know what they want? They want a government committee that does this.
Sure.
That's what they're getting at. That is the bottom line here is
they want the government. They've already tried. Like Biden is the one who kind of started this. His campaign sent a thing. It was like, hey, I want that Trump ad down. Like that's what started this whole.
That's what happens when you're drowning in your own uselessness out there and making gaffe after gaffe. Yeah, you got to have somebody come in and step in and save the day for you. But yeah, hey, you know what? Cheers, Zuck. What is this? 2 episodes? Not back to back, but definitely 2 episodes where we've definitely said, hey, keep it up.
This is 2, and
at least better direction.
And their new portals, the Portal 2s, which I mentioned to you and you didn't know what they were. There's these Facebook, like they're hardware, and they're just screens where you can video call on them.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the second version. The second version has adapted to at least 5 or 6 points that we would have had. Hey, so there's a hardware toggle on it. You can toggle hardware like with a switch so the microphones and video cameras turn off.
You put a bag over
it. There's messages, like part of what used to be in the small print thing where you accept is now frame by frame blown up. Like, hey, this is what happens. These are the less safe bands you're going to be on to make these communications. They could be intercepted. I don't know exactly the language, but they, like, quite a few people on the internets, the interwebs, have noted, hey, apparently Facebook kind of listened a little bit. So
cool.
Yeah.
You know, we're in jeopardy of being a one topic program
we are
today.
not. How long did we go?
No, I'm kidding. It's only an hour.
That's still longer than it planned.
Yeah.
But I think we can get to this. Other one is, like, we've talked about Syria.
Boy, I don't know.
Ton.
I'm going to get mad in this one again.
The reason we're talking about Syria again is just a quick update. Take everything we said before, flip it, and that's what Trump has done.
But what did we say to begin with? What did we say to begin with? We're leaving Syria, or whatever, however he talks.
Well, the first time he said they were leaving Syria completely, then he didn't, and he left. And then he left 200 people there, and then later on he admitted, he was like, "Yeah, that's what I did. I went to leave Syria. And they complained, so I made a compromise, left 200 people there. Whoop-de-doo." Yeah. And then he said, "I'm going to leave Syria again."
And then then
Lindsey Graham.
And what did we say? Yeah, all right.
Well, he said it wasn't going to happen.
We'll say we'll believe it when we see it.
Sure.
That's what we say. Hey, great. Let's see it.
More troops are coming in.
Not only are more troops, they're massing right now in eastern Syria. The comments. And you know, there are articles. I've got 2 in front of me that I want to kind of go through a little bit.
You want to hear from Trump himself first?
It saves our audience from me doing a bad impression. We're keeping the oil.
That wasn't bad. That's better than I could do.
I've always said that. Keep the oil. We want to keep the oil. $45 million a month. Keep the oil. We've secured the oil. That's his quote. Go ahead, play it. You got it handy?
So this is different, but in the same subject. Pictures.
I just spoke to President Erdogan of Turkey. We're doing very, very well with Turkey. There's a ceasefire or a pause or whatever you want to call it. There was some sniper fire this morning. There was mortar fire this morning that was eliminated quickly. And they're back to the full pause. We have ISIS totally under guard. Turkey is also guarding separately. They're watching over everything. So you have the Kurds who we're dealing with and are very happy about the way things are going, I must say. The Kurds, and you also have the Turks watching, just secondarily watching. So we have ISIS under control. We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about, the oil that everybody was worried about. The U.S. has control of that, and there are no shots being fired.
So the oil is the big point. All the rest is kind of interesting.
There's some sniper fire.
Apparently, if ISIS, I thought ISIS was taken care of months ago. I heard all this stuff, right? Months ago.
There's some sniper fire and some mortars. But no shots are being fired. Did you? I mean, seriously, in the same.
Well, he said now no shots are being fired. There was some, and now it's stop. That's the pause.
Sure, it's all over. It's all good.
And then he's like, the Kurds are all happy. So without saying what we should have done, because I think what we should have done is just pull out, and we explained that about, like, we realize this will affect the Kurds, but there's like other higher things like the Constitution kind of at play here. The Kurds adapted pretty fast. They're like, oh, America's gone, or is going to go.
Which let's just, they've got to have contingency for the U.S., right? Like, hey man, the U.S. is not damn dependable. If decades of fighting around here has led us to know anything, it's that these guys are gonna cut bait and we're gonna be on our own. So let's have some contingency plans. Like, this isn't something new to the Kurds.
Yeah, what's his name? The expert who has that podcast, who wrote the book Fool's Errand.
Scott Horton.
Yeah, Scott Horton predicted. He's like, well, the Kurds are just gonna
do what they always do
with Assad.
Yep.
And they're gonna partner with them so they can be protected from the Turks. And the Kurds did that right away. So that was probably not like, they would probably just like things to stay default. But I'm pretty sure that having it change again doesn't make them happy, right? They're like, whoa, like it must be Scott Horton would be much better at predicting the future now. But now what do? Do they stay with Assad? America's staying. Do you think America's going to like be like, oh, we're staying now, we got the oil, we don't care about Assad? No, I'm pretty sure Assad is still, like, they still want regime change. That's what history predicts the future. So now what do the Kurds do? They're like, okay, now we're away from Assad. Does that put them at danger from that side?
Yeah.
Do they go back to America, who apparently doesn't care about them that much?
And let me tell you,
I don't think they're happy about this.
No, man. Let me tell you, I mean, most people don't understand the day-to-day life over there, especially for somebody who is working, as a Kurdish soldier, okay? Somebody who's a Kurdish soldier right now. Let me tell you a little bit about their day, right? Most of the time they're working with our Green Beret, GBs, all right? Green beanies. These guys do force multiplication, they do human intelligence, they do signals intelligence, they do, in terms of, training, they do force multiplication. So they go in, they find some indigenous people who are susceptible to being brought in to the American westernized understanding of, this is what's going on here, this is what you have to gain, come work with us, we'll make sure everything's rosy, right? Like, Kurds have heard this a lot from us. And they've also seen us walk away. But here's what people don't see is, like, there are times, like, there are months and months and months, man, where people will, and geez, what am I talking about? Decades, where guys will go in as Green Beret or other SF type units out there, special forces units, and they will go in and they will train these guys. They will live with them. They'll get to know them. They will, and I'm talking like intimate knowledge, man. Like, these guys spend a ton of damn time together, right? Mm-hmm. And this happens, then let's just say, a different group comes in. Like, so let's say 5th group was there, and then 10th group comes back, and then they go through a rotation. 5th group is back. So every, 6 months or less now, I think is what it is, you're seeing a lot of the same guys show back up, and you're like, hey, man, what's up? Good to see you. Glad you're still alive. Like all that kind of, like, mm-hmm. How's your family? Like, this has been going on for decades. And, these guys know each other. They know each other's families. They know the communities. And now, rip. One more time. Rip. Peace, guys. All that crap that we were selling you and telling you about how life is going to be for you guys if you just stick with us, man, it's going to be awesome. Now, I'm not saying we should stay. I'm saying understand this is what these guys who are Kurdish fighters are going through again.
Well, they just went through it. They had to adapt. And now it's like,
oh, well.
Now what happens?
Yeah.
We just adapted. We went through all this pain.
Yeah. And now everybody, what does that do to the human psyche? I'll tell you what it does to the human psyche. It demoralizes the hell out of it to the point where they're like, maybe we shouldn't be fighting at all.
There's probably some fear involved there, too.
Sure. Yeah, man. Watch your back. For sure. Who's going to kill us next?
What if some of those people become the next radicals?
Oh, him. Crazy. And the fact that we've already trained and armed them, I guarantee you they're going to become the next radicals.
It would just be, that's Osama bin Laden used to be one of our guys.
And who do you think they hate more?
In case you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, Osama bin Laden recruited by the CIA.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, these guys are all recruited. And a lot of people don't understand also, like, there are State Department officials, officers, like field guys, and then there are guys from the agency out there, CIA, that are also in these compounds working with these people, man. And yeah, man, do you know who, like, this is how people become radicalized. They get sold this bill of goods, they get told how great it's going to be, and then all of a sudden it's ripped away from them. They're high and dry. Sometimes their families are killed, their brothers or sisters, aunts, uncles, all that kind of stuff. All these glorious promises, the sacrifice that they gave up to go and help the Americans, all flushed right down the pot, man. All of it.
And I think if you add so you've already got that, right? I think if you add the money tends to complicate things, right?
Yeah.
So America goes there, is like, we want the oil. What is the oil? It's got to do with money. I think that would just add fuel to the fire to have a better environment for radical terrorists to pop up.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're
like either wake up the ones that were already radical or make new ones.
Oh, they're just here for the oil? Oh boy, a bunch of shallow bastards those guys are.
And you know who made a very interesting point?
Bashar al-Assad?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I've actually got video of it. I'm going to play it at no sound because
I have a whole article here. I could read it if you like.
Yeah, sure.
Might as well. So this is from Politico.com. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad on Thursday hailed Donald Trump as, quote, the best American president for his, quote, transparency regarding the stated desire to maintain U.S. control of Middle Eastern nations' lucrative oil fields.
I think even there he's nice, like to take the oil in another sovereign country.
Sure. Like, you have a president who has been elected who is just like, yeah, man, this is America.
Aside from the legality, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal in lots of ways.
Oh, jeez. Just talk about the virtue of it.
The whole war action is unconstitutional, at least illegal by American standards. But the morality, side of it, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know exactly whose it is. Is it
I know whose it isn't.
Is it Assad's? Is Assad a good guy? No and no. But it definitely isn't ours. This is modern day empire building. This is modern day. Oh, we're going to go to the Belgian people are going to go to the Congo and take over.
This is a colony. This is an American colony.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. These people are subjects that, at our discretion, live and die. And we will take what we want out of your land.
I don't see how anybody could think we're going to a place, we increase the instability of that place, we introduce much higher risk of death.
Yeah.
And then we take their stuff.
Hey,
I don't know how that's not supposed to make some people angry, and rightfully so. I don't think they should be angry at me or you or all the innocent Americans here.
Do you know what?
But I think they should be very, 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 very angry at the United States government.
The thing about Syria is not a great big state. It's probably something like the size of maybe your Washington or Oregon. No,
you think it's bigger than that?
Well, Iraq is about the size of California in square miles.
The size of California.
But
I mean, Syria is much smaller than that. Syria is probably a tenth of Iraq.
Maybe a little bigger, but at any rate, it's not huge. But $45 million a day in that region that goes into their economy is going to do a lot more for them than $45 million a day is going to do for us.
We probably spend, maybe not 45 million, but we probably spend maybe about $45 million a month in destabilizing their country.
I think we blow through 10 million every second here in the United States.
Well, I'm talking about our military action in Syria. Probably costs tens of millions of dollars a month.
Do you want to know why Bashar al-Assad said what he did?
The quote is great.
I'll tell you.
Please read it.
Quote, I tell you, he's the best American president. Why? Not because of his policies are good, but because he's the most transparent president, Assad said in a state television interview, according to the translation of his remarks by NBC News. Quote, all American presidents commit crimes and end up taking the Nobel Prize and appear as a defender of human rights and the unique and brilliant American of Western principles. He continued, but all they are is a group of criminals who only represent the interests of American lobbies of large corporations in weapons, oil, and others. Assad asserted that Trump, however, speaks with transparency to say, quote, we want the oil, adding, we do not want more we do not want more than a transparent foe. What do we want more, basically, than a transparent foe? So he's still our enemy, but at least he's transparent and is forthcoming about what he's really doing.
I think he uses a lot of like all and so forth that have a little exaggeration, but he says this is reality of American politics since the Second World War at least. His whole statement, like, I'm not saying he's a good guy, but his whole statement is quite reasoned. He exaggerates a little bit and kind of generalizes a little bit, but in the context of what he's trying to express, and a reasonable person listening to him, knowing that he's also, in some ways, boy, people are going to attack me, being reasonable, at least in this statement. Like, it's all pretty.
This guy is more factual than most news outlets that are out there, most propaganda machines,
I agree.
Propaganda media. He gives you the straight and skinny better than most of those people.
He has, to be fair, he has a reason to do so, right? America wants him dead.
Yeah,
so
this
he
actually
should use the best ammunition against America, which, I mean, this is pretty good ammunition.
just truth.
This is truth. It shows,
pretty boiled down.
Hypocrisy, and even for somebody who might be inclined to believe the propaganda, it's hard to ignore everything there.
Why? And I have no reason to ignore what he's saying here. I agree with him. The fact that our president came out and addressed the nation and said we've secured the oil, talked about it. I mean, like,
he secured and then appropriated, because like we'll decide what's going to happen with the oil. You know what needs to be a fact to decide what happens with something. You need to have ownership of it.
The brazenness, God dang, man, the brazen arrogance of this man and this machine that is the American empire.
But it also is much more transparent, because it's not like this is new.
No.
Do you know how much money certain oil companies got thanks to some of the Middle East being bombed to hell?
I'm still getting it since 1950s.
Dick Cheney, Halliburton, connection there, here.
Saudi Aramco.
It's not that hard.
Shell. Like, you're just looking at this.
And this is not just on this one subject. Like, Trump is pretty honest, and it made me think of Saudi Arabia. The first thing that it made me think of, just because all the Middle East. And I found a quote from Trump. He says, "I'm not going to destroy the economy of our country by being foolish with Saudi Arabia. They're buying hundreds of billions worth of things from this country. If I say we don't want to take their business, if I say we're going to cut it off, they will get the equipment, military equipment, and other things from Russia and China."
Good.
And so this is just another mission that we might have. I mean, I think we kind of talked around this, but not specifically. Like Assad is giving good commentary for the rebellion. This is some extra level transparency. It's like, the consequences of these actions do not matter. What if Yemenis children are dying of dysentery and things falling from the sky that could only happen thanks to our help? Doesn't matter. What I am putting as a priority is hundreds of billions of dollars.
Seriously, $45 million a day, right? Which is about half the oil capacity of Syria.
Okay.
At least we're leaving them half. I'll hear that. I know we'll hear that and you know what else you're going to hear, especially from the MAGA crowd who's going to defend this crap?
Well, we can't let the terrorists get the oil.
Why should we be there defending them for free? They owe us. The audacity of that statement.
Do they? I don't. That's so you're more in touch sometimes with what some normal people would be saying, but it's like, you do realize whatever the situation would have been, there would have been like 7 million less displaced Syrians and hundreds of thousands less dead Syrians.
Yeah.
You think they want to pay for displacement and radical death counts?
No.
That seems weird.
It just
because that seems like when the government has me pay for being inconvenienced because I was traversing the air at a faster speed than what they allow.
I feel like we've ushered, somehow unknowingly, we're ushering in this new paradigm, man. Like, the state's naked and the emperor knows it now, right? And to see this, to hear this, to see, everything that's happening that is just brazenly out in the open between this and the Democrats trying to impeach the man for, what I'll consider non-impeachable offenses, where there are other impeachable offenses. It is a weird thing, man. Like it's like something has happened that will never ever be put back in the bottle. And I say good, great. We're talking about Sunlight earlier in terms of exposure of lies and truth, and let it be what it is. Does truth and transparency, does it help Trump get reelected? In this case, do the American people as a more of a whole, do they reject this type of thing for what we're doing? Because look at what we are. We've become the number one exporter of natural gas and petroleum in the world. Mm-hmm. That means that's something that's new in our lifetime. And for us to sit here and say, listen, we're going to take $45 million a day from Syria because we feel like we've got some kind of claim to this oil. Is that weird?
I think I spoke about this in the episode that's coming up on Friday with our friend Kelly.
Yeah.
And that one thing that really bothers me with some of the reactions to Trump is this kind of almost sports fan mentality or reaction to some of the things that he does that I think are disgusting, but to them in a positive way, like the connivingness and the tough guyness and the bulliness and so forth. I'm not saying you have to be a weak person. Like I like strength, but I like strength for good reasons. Unfortunately, I think some people are going to see this as, look at that, we're winning without like,
you're gonna be so sick of winning by the end of this. I'm tired of winning.
It's like, you're not, like, you won. If you win, like if I win over you, right? Mm-hmm. In that I overtake you physically or shoot you, I've won. But that seems like a pretty, like, there's no virtue in that win. Yeah. And this is the same thing, but I think we're so pitted against each other in many ways. I still think the vast majority of people agree on the vast majority of things. When it comes to the important things, there's like a value, right? There's some things that are worth more, and on those things, people agree. But there is this sense
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
I was talking more about, like, people love their family and just want to live in peace, and like those. I know it was funny. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to undo a joke. But I think we're so pitted against each other in many ways, and the media kind of ramps that up all the time, or just points it out all the time, like, we're divided. And people are so used to it being a zero-sum game of what they got to lose, we got to win, mm-hmm. and for us to win, they have to lose. Like, it's not like I just don't have a choice. Where in that people like to win, especially in politics, because it's all this zero-sum game, and so whatever we can win is like cool.
Yeah,
whenever we can, and I don't think that's cool.
I'm glad you brought up Jeffrey Epstein. I've seen a resurgence lately on social media.
The memes.
Yes, and the thing is we even had somebody come out this week and talk about it. Hillary Clinton, in that same clip from Trevor Noah's The Daily Show, he commented. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was.
I read a headline.
Oh, it's just, man, make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Where he's like, "Well, how did you kill Jeffrey Epstein?" Ha ha! And she cackles. There is something to be said about the American response in social media and things that they won't let die. I mean, that thing came back pretty hard last week. It'll probably fizzle for a while, but not to get on that subject, but the way it came about, I think, is because the internet was not letting it go, right? The people out there are just like, dude, this.
Well, it's this wonderful thing that you kind of allude to. We can all kind of agree on.
Yeah, so I think most people in America can agree. Get the hell out of the Middle East, right? And I'd love to I know there are campaigns out there. I know there are tons of veterans, and I know there are things like that. But hey, if this is one of those things, if you're good at making memes and starting Facebook groups and making things go viral, this is one of those things that you should probably be on. This is at the top of my list.
It could be like a trash can that's on fire with all the countries kind of, and it just like, let's get out of the dumpster fire, and it just says Middle East. Like
that we started, all that. But yeah, I think this is one of those things where you could hopefully potentially sway this president, who is definitely paying attention to the statistics and populism that's out there. I think this is one of those things that we could probably address. This is not okay. We do not have a claim to this country's oil. We don't have a claim to any land over there. We don't have a claim to anybody who's in power. Like
hell, the government doesn't have any claim to anything. It's a fictional mafia entity.
I think if there's anything that's good in terms of being solutionary about what we're talking about, this is one of those things that you
solutionary. That sounds like our friend Maj.
Yeah,
I call him our friend. He doesn't know us, but
yeah. But I think you're right. I mean, we have to be solutionary, and we talked about that during our campaign a lot. It's like, hey, listen, this is the problem. Here's the solution. It's real simple. Like if a cran eater like me can figure a plan out to say, hey, let's try this. And I'm not saying everybody has to try it. Let's put it in pockets like everything else and try things and get more minds and more bodies working on this problem to come up with more answers, man.
No, it's a cool idea. I think that was a very good analysis of the Epstein thing and what we could do if we find some humor to expose the truth.
Yeah. We're running 125 right now.
You said you had a surprise.
I do.
I want to end a little bit on Mr. Matt. Do you want to go
Matt Gurtler? You want to do that?
At the very, it's 2 minutes. Do you want to talk about really fast this bill?
Yeah, we've got all the time in the world, Banksy.
Cool.
We're a podcast.
So
independent at that.
I'm not stressed about it. Just just discussing what we should do. But we did our episode on transgender.
Yep.
Discussion in America and right and wrong, and we were actually talking about it earlier, and with some new kind of insight. I the other day just driving was like, man, it just seems like there's so many good analogies of what the reasonable step is. And I was thinking of tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. I said earlier that I've thought about one tattoo on myself, but I don't dislike tattoos. Mm-hmm. And even a tattoo that I would like on somebody today, like I don't think they should get it before they're able to make a good, rational decision about it. You might never be able to make it. You might be happy until you're 60, and then I don't think the wrinkle thing is that like, oh, a 60-year-old with tattoos is going to look weird. I think it's already happened.
Depends on who it is. Old salty dude. Yeah, that's all right.
But like I would never, for anybody that I love and care about, I'd be like, you should probably wait, because it's actually not completely permanent, but it's pretty permanent. And if you want to change it, it costs a lot of money and hurts. And
it hurts
and can leave scars.
Yeah.
So like you should probably wait until your brain is at least not completely developed. I think we're always growing, but that seems like such an easy argument to make.
It seems like there's some other things. I agree completely, 100% agree with you, and I also think that there's one of those things where, hey man, when you get asked about this by your grandkids, what are you going to say? That's a question. That's a question you should probably have an answer to before you ever get a tattoo.
About when you made the decision? Oh, okay.
Of what it is, why you got it, like all that kind of stuff. Like that's something.
And you can probably make a better decision of what that would be that you're going to say when you're not 14.
That's right.
Or even 18.
Yeah.
I was pretty like I don't know, like 22, and I'm very comfortable with my decisions and so forth. I mean, I was not stupid before, but yeah, I'm glad I didn't make some decisions back then.
I've made other decisions where I wish I had already finished up my sleeve, and I just haven't had the time to do so yet. Mm-hmm. Right? Like things like that. But yeah.
So the reason we're bringing this up again is because here in Georgia, this is coincidentally where it happened. A state rep who, fun fact that most people won't know, her husband used to be a state rep for 34 years, and then she ran for his seat when he vacated. Mm-hmm. The nepotism, like the unofficial nepotism, disgusts the hell out of me. Yeah. But she introduced a bill. Her name is Jenny Earhart. She introduced a bill that is still being drafted. I looked for it for like an hour and then have realized that it's actually not public yet, but she's talked a lot about it. That said that Jordan medical providers who perform surgeries or administer or prescribe medications that assist minors with gender transition could be charged with a felony.
Huh.
The legislation would not affect doctors working with adults who seek to undergo gender transition. She says, we're talking about children that can't get a tattoo or smoke a cigar or a cigarette in the state of Georgia, but can be castrated and get sterilized. I'm not the one to go to the government for a solution.
Right.
Legislation is very, very complicated because even a good idea, I'm not sure this is a good idea, but even a good idea, the details can be the exact opposite or very, very bad.
Well, and you also, whenever the government does anything, right?
Yeah.
It's unintended consequences that maybe we're not even aware of yet.
But especially legislation,
Sure.
literally a perfect bill,
Yeah.
like constitutional carry written by yours truly. If we lost control of it during the legislative process and they wanted to take it and turn it into gun control, like that can happen easily.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's being proposed. What do you think of that?
I'm not a fan of government doing anything. I think this is probably more of a market and community-based solution. I still think it's abuse. I think anytime you do something like that, and actually, one of our listeners the other day brought to my attention that he actually thinks this is sexual abuse. And I never thought about it like that. And I said, this is a great point that I had never thought about. I think this conversation is young in America. This is a new topic for our
for the greater part of America.
Sure.
I think so. I think it's been a subject
for niche
for niche for a while.
And I said, I think this is what this needs. This is the type of thing that needs to be talked about and to think about. I mean, seriously, sit down and think about this. Are you doing something sexually to a kid that could be seen as abuse? And sex,
I think it definitely could be.
It's different.
So because first thing, you're the ones at the very young ages, because there's a framework here. There's some this is at 18 we're talking about, or at 16, or at 14. There's some at 7. I think potentially not making aware, but trying to influence your kid into thinking about sex in that way at 7 years old is a little perverted.
Well, let's
like
take
in a bad way.
Let's take it even a step further, right? Like, I mean, you mentioned tattoos and everything like that earlier, right? There are places and cultures out there that still do genital mutilation. Hell, our culture does it. Circumcision is genital mutilation. All right. The mutilating of
So are you saying that it would necessarily be a bad thing with that statement?
What I'm saying is like, I'm one of those people that'll sit there and say, yeah, you know what, you're doing something to somebody that is not natural, right? Like you're introducing harm to a body that's not needed. And
some people would argue that it's needed. I just the definition of mutilation is the act of mutilating or being mutilated, a culture which found any mutilation in the body abhorrent, the infliction of serious damage on something. So I think some people would argue that it's not damage.
Serious?
No,
it's definitely damage. I mean, whenever you're breaking skin, that's damage to a body.
Okay, I agree with that.
So are you going to tattoo somebody's penis or vagina? No.
Happens apparently.
7-year-old? Are you going to do that?
That seems freaking like ridiculous.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Like when you actually just stop and think about like circumcision and circumcision, or what do they call it in the countries where they do it to females, like
genital mutilation.
It's genital. It is. That's what we call it.
That's what we call it.
Female circumcision, basically.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it.
It's all like they're breaking skin, they're causing harm.
So most medical procedures have a cost to them, right?
Sure.
Like you take, because of the wonderfully caring FDA, we get to hear about all the the adverse reactions you can have. It's like, hey, take this thing to make your stomach feel better, but you could potentially, like, I don't know, your head could pop off and you can get into depression. You can want to kill yourself. Like, there's a cost and offset. But no, by definition, it is damage. I agree.
Yeah.
And so that would enter the definition of mutilation.
Yeah. So I mean, I think whenever you do something like that, it's abuse. I see it as parallel to those things that I mentioned in my own mind, and I definitely agree that it could definitely be seen as sexual abuse. And here's now what you've done is open the door for predation, right? Like you want to talk about people who are on these lists. I don't like lists. I hate government lists, but this is serious, man. And this is one of those things where, you guys obviously heard the passion in our discussion, at least, that I think it's immediate. I think it's serious. I think that our response to it is even more important than the niche that it's out there. What we're doing is going to, somehow set a precedent, especially in this perverted system that we're in.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the discussion where one side or the other will be like, well, the law's not going to change anything about it. Then sometimes when that is the case, when it's like, hey, the law's not going to actually do anything about it, I try to like err on the side I would err on, which is usually like the government is a bad solution.
Yep.
And so I tend to want to, even though I can't prove it, be like, well, maybe the cultural aspect is better, so we just have to push for that. And maybe the law, even though you might say, well, what's the harm if it's not going to do anything? At least it's there. At least the idea is there. But that gives the other side a reason to correctly say, oh, look, they're trying to infringe on my rights to I don't know, do whatever I want to do, like tattoo children's penises, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is maybe the market, and that's the thing, is there can't be a giant market out there for this in the first place.
I don't think there is.
So, in terms of the market exposing who these doctors are, if they're pediatricians especially, and they're doing this kind of thing or engaging in these practices, then I think they're going to get exposed. And hopefully the market just figures this thing out, man. Because if there's no place for somebody to go, for this kind of thing, all ends perfectly, right? But here's what I guarantee you will happen is if the government gets involved, it will not work out the way you want it to. It'll work out the way the government always works things out, and that is through coercion and force, and it'll be perverted. And
those have consequences, and those
of course.
Consequences are usually bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that to people's attention.
Good follow-up.
And I had another point, but I can't remember it. So we have one thing each to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to, the surprise. I want the surprise.
Go ahead.
But I just have a quick thing. Our friend Matt Gurtler, who was on 2 episodes, which I will write now to link. If you've missed this and are new to the podcast, we get new people all the time, every week. We've had a little influx on Spotify, by the way, of listeners. I don't know. I think it's because we put, like, Snowden got a really good reach, by the way. Link Matt episodes. But if you haven't listened or know who Matt is, go check him out. He has an opponent.
He's one of the best liberty fighters we've got down here. He's a state assemblyman
In the country.
Yeah.
From here in Georgia.
Matt is he's one of our good friends, and he's primaried. The last time around, they went up there and kicked the crap out of the establishment. This time around, if he's being primaried again, man, I'll do everything I can to help this guy.
It is a judge. Judge's name is Judge Gunter.
Hey, Judge Gunter, coming for you, man. Get ready, because you're gonna feel.
No, you're not even ready for the information.
Oh yeah, let's go.
You're not.
Is he a former Democrat?
No, it's even better.
Yes, let's have it.
Judge Gunter's name is mentioned in another friend of ours' researches. Our friend's name is Derek Somerville.
Oh, okay.
Who, if you haven't listened to the Ralston episodes, and when Derek came on, who's a former FBI agent.
Episode 85.
Wow. Yeah. I wouldn't know.
It's my first video.
Oh, that's why.
It's out there for you guys if you want to see it.
But he did all this research on the horrible abuse of power in cahoots, I would say, with the judges, and getting continuances and delaying justice forever to where it's impossible to get justice because time matters.
Sure.
This is one of the judges who gave continuances to a now alleged, because he took a plea deal, guilty child molester.
Oh, buddy. Welcome
And
to the political.
Thanks to Derek, we have all the proof of this.
Welcome to the political season, Judge Gunter. Man, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna make it part of my life's mission to make sure that everybody knows exactly who you are. What a dirtbag. The fact that you're not only associated with this guy, but you're one of the judges that has benefited from this guy. Boy, you want to talk about transparency. I hope you're ready, Judge. I hope you're ready to get in this fight, because I'll tell you right now, there is an army of us out here that are going to make sure that Gurtler gets reelected.
So important point. Yes. All that important point is, never, ever underestimate your political foe. It is dangerous.
Yeah.
And research done by yours truly and lots of other activists for a long time in Georgia say that they have a lot of power and a lot of ways to destroy any attempt that we make to push liberty. Matt has been successful. It is on the backs of many, many people, but and just because we have this information does not mean, as we've seen with, like, Ralston's still there. This kind of scandal has been going on for over a decade.
Yep.
He's not out yet. So this is good information to have. It's kind of interesting in a political way, but Matt is under a lot of pressure. They chose him, this judge, for a reason. Ralston's Nathan Deal's daughter is the chief fundraiser for this guy. It's like it all is not to be taken lightly. And so if you have a few shekels, as Shane would say, to put together, I cannot say this lightly. It is probably the best political fight in Georgia for liberty to contribute to. MattGurtler.com. If you're in Georgia, he's having a fundraiser on November 19th, which is a Tuesday, up in North Georgia. I won't be able to make it, but he'd love to meet you. Some of you have donated to him, and I pointed it out. We were going through his list the other day of donors, and I was like, oh, that person's from the podcast.
We should probably have a little local one here to see if we can't gin up a little support for Matt and see if we can't get him financially viable real quick.
We could meet and invite people.
Sure.
That'd be a good reason to finally meet some of these people in
the
person.
Rebels out there.
There's a few of them. What's his name? I'm sorry that just called you. What's his name? He lives in Flowery Branch.
Mm-hmm.
He's messaged us on by email a few times saying, "Hey, when are we meeting in person?"
Yeah, we got to do it.
Name escapes me. I apologize. So that's it. MattGurtler.com. I'll link it in the show notes.
Okay.
Even $1 just so you get on his email list, and you'll get a nice postcard back saying thank you for supporting us.
And I'll tell you what,
a great thing.
if you got time and you want to go to Northeast Georgia and knock on doors, they could definitely use your help doing that as well, because as we know firsthand, one of the greatest things you can do for a candidate is go out there and knock on doors. So
absolutely, donate $1, donate $5.
Donate an afternoon.
It's nothing, and you'll get on the email list. And as soon as that starts happening, you'll see emails saying, "Hey,
we need help.
Hey, come out."
Yep.
And one day means a lot.
I love it, man. I love it. I can't wait. You know what? That's like they said. Who is the founder that says liberty? Golly, I'm going to butcher it. Heaven knows how to put such a price on such a celestial object as liberty. Is it
Thomas Paine?
It's Thomas Paine or Patrick Henry?
I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Paine in the Common Sense pamphlet.
I think you might be right. Anyway, speaking of common sense.
Surprises.
Surprise, and this is maybe going to be a bit of a tease, but after
to our audience or to me?
No, we'll have discussions after the camera's shut off. But for you guys out there that have been wondering and pestering and all this kind of stuff, after a few years of being in the political game here in Georgia, I thought I'd come in and sweep the GOP off her feet.
How'd that go for you?
I mean, being a guy that grew up here in Georgia, in Northeast Georgia, that has run off to fight in battles and join the Marine Corps and go through some pretty amazing training and all that kind of stuff, and be a Marine combat vet that comes back here and espouses liberty, especially through the Constitution, going out and teaching classes in the Constitution and everything else, to have a family and be, what you would imagine the cookie cutter, resident or citizen in this case, for somebody that you'd want to have run on a ticket for you, right? Like that's what you would think by what the Republicans say.
Is anybody else annoyed by how slow Shane is saying all this?
You got to build it, buddy. You got to build the suspense. I've decided and made some adjustments into my political trajectory. I've left the GOP officially and joined the Libertarian Party. And this is something that I did not take lightly. It's something that you guys are going to have to push me to follow up on. But I'm done with them. I'm done with the progressive right. I am absolutely done with all these progressives, the duopoly that there is. I think there is an amazing opportunity before us to be part of something, to grow something, to energize a base and recruit and find this next generation that is going to lead and just absolutely inspire us to a better form of interaction with each other. And so I will no longer be part of the GOP Libertarian Party. We got some stuff to do over here too. And I think, Josh Smith and the guys that are leading the charge over at the Mises Institute, Michael Heiss and gang, this is going to be a battle for, I think the I hate to say the soul, but I think that it's going to be a battle for history. I really do. I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, I think you're already making history. I would hope everybody feels that they're making history on a daily basis. And what I can tell you guys is, as we've said many, many, many times, political parties don't matter.
That's right.
And I know that Shane makes a lot of effort to follow his corny words and sappiness, so forth, but follow his calling, like what is right. We both believe that there is kind of, it's maybe not destiny or anything, but there is a right thing to do, right?
For you.
Yeah, for you.
Yep.
And I'm very confident that Shane is in tune with that, and I know he spends a lot of time trying to make sure that is that's what he's doing.
Yep.
It's why he ran for office. It's why I signed on so easily, and didn't even try to convince him that much to do something else, even though I should have. And many, many people say I'm silly for not doing that. So I think he'll do cool things, and I'm very supportive.
Yep.
And I'll keep on doing my thing.
Yep.
Which is, I guess I'm the only Republican on the show now. Whoa. You guys know what that means.
Yeah.
But everybody has their, like, I'm glad that we had a Ron Paul. I'm so glad. Like, it's one of the things I'm most thankful for in my life. But I'm also quite glad that we have a Libertarian Party for all its faults.
Yep.
Ron Paul has no faults. Ron Paul better. End the show.
Thank you very much. Hey, if you got anything to send to us, send it to info@rebellionpod.com. We will read it, maybe throw it up on our website and push it up here. If you have enjoyed the show, you can go out there and support us at patreon.com/rebellionpod. $1, $1 million, whatever. We'll take them all. Thank you very much, all of you guys that are supporting us. We are growing. We are putting up the website hopefully very soon. That's going to hopefully take our trajectory and start that steep bend up in the hockey stick. And, of course, we love reading your reviews. We're one shy. Should we give a shirt away for something? Maybe being the 100th person to write a review?
If you're the 100th person to write a review, you'll get something special.
Damn, we got some special stickers coming. Thanks, showed them to me today. I'm super excited.
Half of them, the other half is coming. Our art person, who is wonderful, is working on them. Yep. Most of the slowness is my fault. Thank you for your patience. We love you.
Yeah, and we need you.
And peace.
Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.